from someplace over Seattle Hempfest. This is a Space Dog Radio Show. I'm the Space Dog. Thanks for tuning in. Space Dog Radio is your remote location radio station. We're going to start off a bunch of segments here from Hempfest with a legal statement. Here's a special segment from Seattle Hempfest about the legalization of pot in Washington State.
I think the other great lawyer in the room is John Conroy down here from Canada. He's actually one of my lawyers. I hate to say lawyers in plural, but I got to tell you guys that when I ran a dispensary, I used to spend every day thinking, how am I going to make my lawyer's job easier if I get in court? And that's a really good thought to have when you leave the door, particularly if you're involved in the cannabis industry. How are you going to make your lawyer's job easier if you end up in court? Don't be naive. Don't think you won't ever end up in court, and do what you can to stay out of it.
McGuire, help me, help you. Exactly. Help me, help you.
We thought you were all out there trying to make our jobs harder rather than easier. Let me just add something for these street confrontations when the cops are on you and they're interrogating you. I have a little thing that I tell my clients. I call it the Steinborn two-step. When you're approached by an officer, they want to grill you. Your first words are very simple. What's this about? What's this about? Got it? What's this about? And then no matter what they say, they may say they want your help in searching the moon for green cheese. I don't care what they say. Your answer is, I guess I better talk to my lawyer. And then I tell my clients, if you don't take my advice, I double the price. And you put it to them that way, and they tend to understand it and remember it, and sometimes you even get a giggle out of the cops.
Right on. I'm going to take some questions from the audience. People have been super patient here. I want you guys to take advantage of the amazing legal minds that we have up here on the stage. So I'm going to start up front here with a gentleman who's got a question for our panel. You guys can answer as you see fit.
Didn't your Washington law didn't allow just possessors of cannabis who aren't convicted of a felony to own a gun? Is it still? It's still guns and drugs, even though cannabis is legal now?
Doesn't matter. Doesn't affect it one bit, not one whit, not one iota, not at all.
Not at the federal level.
Doesn't matter. In fact, Lee and John and folks down in Oregon took a case and they went all the way to the Supreme Court on it and stuff, and it still doesn't matter. You've got people now, I forget exactly where it's happening, but I just read about this. They've got people cross-referencing in this county the gun permits versus the medical marijuana registrations, and that's right. That's you. Yeah. That's what they're doing. That's law enforcement's response to a victory. Can't do it.
It's a federal crime to be a user of cannabis or any other drug in possession of a firearm. Okay. Period. So that's the federal crime.
So then they use the fact that you showed an officer your medical marijuana authorization as a reason to deny you your concealed weapons permit or any other licensing. So that's happening through NICS pretty much regularly.
Yep, it's automatic.
Okay, good advice. We're going to turn to the next question. This gentleman over here. What's your name?
My name is Kevin Reed. I previously worked in the medical marijuana industry as a manager of a dispensary. And then until Monday, I worked for the I-502 industry for a producer-processor. I was a production manager, and on July 9th, I tore my knee moving some debris from the construction.
Closer to the mouth.
So I tore my knee, my meniscus, and maybe ligament in my knee. So on Monday, I was medicating on my lunch hour at the residence, which is off-site. And when I came back to lunch, the manager told me I needed to talk to the manager who's in New York. And I was terminated, and they gave me a letter saying I was terminated for medicating at this site. Well, previously I had an email from the manager giving me direct permission to medicate at this location. Also, further, he indicated that it would be okay for the employees to drink alcohol at that location as long as they didn't bring any cans or bottles into the facility. So they basically sewed themselves up, breaking violations of the I-502.
So the question is, were they legal in firing it?
Yeah, were they legal in firing me, and are they legal in indicating that employees are allowed to drink during work hours and return to premises?
You want to answer that, Kurt?
I mean, I guess an employer can create whatever policy they want. They've got some liability then if somebody gets hurt and everybody's drunk, right? So that could be a problem, a huge problem for them. As far as, I-502 is very clear in the wax. If you're using on site on your 502 license facility, that's grounds for loss of your license. Right? right? So I mean, I can understand kind of a heavy-handed approach there, but you know, if you weren't on site, I mean, I think you may have a wrongful termination claim. I don't know. I don't do employment law, so.
The problem with the whole issue, though, is that there's a case. It's a Supreme Court case in the state called Jane Doe versus Teletech. Jane Doe was a client of mine that I referred to Mike Subit, who's a great labor employment lawyer, and he took it up to the Supreme Court. We knew we were going to lose because of the prior California cases in the Oregon case, Ross versus Raging Wire in California, and I forget the Emerald Steel in Oregon. Thank you. And we knew we were in trouble. The problem is the reform has touched the criminal law. You know, it's barely kissed us, but it's touched us, and it hasn't touched employment law at all. There's absolutely no right. You can be terminated for it. It's clear. There's no protection. And
502 specifically permits it.
Yeah, and 502 kind of enshrines that because they were looking to get the support of employers and the employment associations that would have opposed it if it had done anything to change the employment law. But this is another aspect of changing federal law. We have to change the goddamn federal law before we can get a lot of the stuff corrected, and that's it. It's solid. We have to do it. We can't get the employment stuff corrected until we do that. We have to change the goddamn federal law on marijuana, period.